Have you ever felt unsure of what to say to someone who is approaching the end of their life? It's a profoundly sensitive and emotional time, and many of us find ourselves struggling to find the right words. Despite our best intentions, it's surprisingly easy to say something that, instead of comforting, may unintentionally cause pain or discomfort. In this discussion, we'll go over 7 things you should avoid saying to someone who is dying. Insights that come directly from the real-world experiences of hospice nurses who witness these fragile moments every day. These examples will help you see how well-meaning comments can sometimes miss the mark, and they'll offer more compassionate alternatives that truly support and comfort someone during this tender phase of life. Stay with us until the end, as what you learn here could not only change how you communicate in such difficult situations, but also offer someone lasting peace in their final days. If you haven't already, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. Your support helps us keep creating helpful and heartfelt content for people like you. Now let's begin. Number 1, I know what you're going through. One of the most common phrases that hospice professionals caution against is saying you understand what someone is feeling. While it might seem like a way to connect, this phrase can actually minimize a person's experience. Even if you faced a serious illness yourself, every person's end-of-life journey is distinct, shaped by their unique memories, fears, and hopes. Saying, "I know what you're going through," can feel dismissive, even if it's meant with the best intentions. Take, for example, a man named Charles, who was 82 and receiving hospice care. He once shared that what hurt more than his physical illness was when people assumed they understood his inner world without asking. What he truly wanted wasn't advice or comparisons. It was someone willing to just sit beside him and listen. A more compassionate approach is to say something like, "I can't imagine what this feels like, but I'm here with you." This kind of honesty respects the deeply personal nature of their experience and emphasizes your presence over assumptions. At the end of the day, being there without judgment or solutions often means more than any words can express. Number 2, stay positive or keep fighting. Another phrase that frequently surfaces and often causes unintended harm is encouraging a dying person to remain upbeat or to keep fighting. While such statements are usually said in a spirit of support, they can actually put pressure on someone who is already exhausted, both physically and emotionally. These words can imply that maintaining positivity or continuing to struggle is the only acceptable response, which can make the person feel like they're failing if they no longer have the strength to keep going. Hospice nurses remind us that the end of life is not about winning a battle. It's a time for reflection, peace, and acceptance. Urging someone to fight harder can make them feel unseen, as though their current reality, perhaps one of surrender and deep fatigue, is being overlooked. A powerful example comes from Helen, a 79-year-old woman in hospice care. She confided that every time someone said, "You can beat this," she felt even more alone. It seemed no one noticed how tired she was or how much she had already endured. What brought her comfort, she said, were the simple, honest words of those who told her, "I'm here with you, no matter what." These words didn't demand strength or optimism. They offered unconditional support, which helped her find peace in letting go, rather than in continuing the struggle. If you've made it this far and feel these reflections are resonating with you, please drop a comment with number 2 to let me know you're here. And again, if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do so and turn on the notification bell. Your support allows us to keep creating thoughtful and compassionate content for people navigating life's hardest moments. Let's continue exploring more of these important insights in the next section. Number 3, it's all part of a bigger plan. Another phrase that hospice nurses frequently hear and caution against is telling a dying person that their pain or illness is part of a bigger plan. While often intended to provide reassurance or a sense of purpose, this kind of statement can come across as dismissive or even hurtful. For someone facing the end of their life, such words might seem to diminish or invalidate the deep emotions they're feeling: fear, sadness, regret, or confusion. Suggesting that their suffering fits into some greater scheme can make it harder for them to be honest about what they're going through, especially if they don't personally subscribe to the beliefs being expressed. Death is an intensely individual experience, and what people often need most is not an explanation, but permission to feel whatever they are feeling, without judgment or correction. I remember Ruth, a woman who was 84 and in hospice care, who said that when her friends tried to comfort her by saying her illness was meant to be or part of the plan, she felt more alone than ever. She wasn't searching for answers. She just wanted someone to be with her, quietly, without trying to make sense of something that felt senseless. What she needed most was a hand to hold, a listening ear, someone to simply say, "I'm here." In moments like these, presence, without spiritual or philosophical interpretations, can be far more comforting than trying to frame the experience as part of a larger picture. Number 4, don't cry or be strong. Another damaging phrase, though often said with good intentions, is telling someone not to cry or to stay strong. Hospice workers emphasize that it's vital for individuals nearing the end of life to feel safe and free in expressing their emotions, whether it's sorrow, fear, anger, or even joy. Suppressing those feelings because someone told them to be brave or not to cry can make them feel ashamed or misunderstood, even if that wasn't the intention behind the words. I recall Walter, an 80-year-old man who found peace in openly weeping beside his daughter in his final days. He shared that the freedom to cry, to express his pain and vulnerability without being told to hold it in, helped him release emotions that words could never convey. His tears weren't a sign of weakness, they were a powerful and necessary release, allowing him to face his reality honestly and fully. When we allow someone to feel without censoring them or urging them to put on a brave face, we offer them one of the greatest gifts: the freedom to be their authentic self in a moment that demands emotional honesty. If these reflections resonate with you, feel free to comment number 4 to let me know you're still with us. And if you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so to support more helpful content like this. Number 5, I know you're going to get better. Telling a dying person that they're going to recover, even when said out of love and deep hope, can be misleading and isolating. It's natural to want to lift someone's spirits or express optimism, but in end-of-life situations, this kind of assurance can do more harm than good. Most people who are approaching death have a clear sense of their condition. Whether they've come to terms with it or are still struggling, they are aware of what's happening. Insisting that they will get better can feel like you're denying their reality or avoiding the truth they've already accepted. This kind of response may leave them feeling even more alone, as though they can't talk openly about what they're experiencing because others won't acknowledge it. Instead of bringing comfort, it may create emotional distance at a time when closeness is most needed. I remember Eileen, a woman of 83, who once said that she didn't need promises of healing. She needed people willing to sit with her quietly, offering no guarantees, just presence and care. Her deepest sense of peace came not from hopeful predictions, but from honest, gentle companionship. When someone looked her in the eyes and simply said, "I'm here and I care," she felt truly seen and supported. By choosing to offer our presence rather than promises, we allow the dying person to feel accepted and respected. Meeting them where they are, without pretending otherwise, builds trust and fosters genuine peace. In these final moments, it's not about fixing or promising, it's about being there, fully, with compassion. Number 6, everything happens for a reason. Hospice nurses have often seen how painful it can be when someone tells a dying individual that their situation is part of a greater plan or purpose. While these words are usually offered with the intention of comforting or making sense of a heartbreaking reality, they can end up sounding empty or even alienating. For someone in their final days, such statements may feel dismissive of their personal grief, confusion, or search for meaning. During this deeply emotional time, people often look inward, trying to find peace or understanding in their own unique way. When someone else steps in and assigns meaning to their suffering, it can feel as if their own thoughts, feelings, or beliefs are being ignored or invalidated. Instead of trying to explain why something has happened, this is a time for attentive listening and genuine presence. I remember Henry, who was 85 and in hospice care. He once shared that what comforted him most wasn't someone trying to give his illness a reason. It was the moments when friends simply sat with him, allowing him to talk freely without trying to interpret or explain away his pain. For Henry, healing didn't come from hearing a reason behind his suffering, but from the human connection he felt when people chose to simply be with him. That silent companionship, without judgment or explanation, meant everything. When we choose to offer support through presence rather than explanations, we communicate something powerful, that we respect their journey, however uncertain or painful, and we're willing to walk beside them with compassion rather than answers. Number 7, telling someone how they should feel or act. Perhaps one of the most hurtful things we can say to someone nearing the end of life is how they should be feeling or behaving. Whether it's encouraging them to be strong, suggesting they stay positive, or telling them not to be afraid, these comments, though often well-meaning, can strip away a person's sense of autonomy and emotional freedom. Each person's experience of dying is deeply personal and shaped by their life story, beliefs, emotions, and inner struggles. When we tell someone what they should or shouldn't feel, we risk silencing their truth and implying that their natural emotions, fear, sadness, frustration, even moments of joy, are wrong or unwelcome. Samuel, who was 84, once told me that the moment he felt truly understood was when his sister looked him in the eye and said, "You can feel whatever you need to feel, and I'll be here with you." That simple expression of unconditional support allowed him to let go of any pressure to act a certain way. He was free to be himself, raw, real, and fully human. And that, in his words, gave him the greatest sense of peace. By offering that kind of acceptance and emotional space, we help the dying feel seen, heard, and valued, exactly as they are. That kind of presence can mean more than any well-intentioned advice or encouragement. Final thoughts. As we wrap up this message, I hope these 7 insights have offered a new perspective on how powerful our words and our silences can be during life's most vulnerable moments. Which of these points struck you the most? Which one will stay with you the next time you find yourself with someone nearing the end of life? The truth is, you don't need to find the perfect words. What matters most is that you show up with kindness, honesty, and a willingness to listen. When we choose our words with care and offer our presence with humility, we can provide something far deeper than comfort. We can offer dignity, peace, and a reminder that even in our final days, we are not alone. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to know what stood out to you. Feel free to leave a comment with a takeaway and how you plan to use it in your life. Your feedback encourages us to keep producing meaningful content. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share it with others. Your support helps us keep creating uplifting and informative videos. Thanks again for watching, and we can't wait to see you next time.